Welcome to the Social Workers radio talk show on WCDB Albany 90.9 FM with co-hosts Dr. Eric Hardiman and Alyssa Lotmore. Here at the Social Workers, we address issues important to our communities with social work students, alumni, and community partners as our guests.
As part of the University at Albany School of Social Welfare, we hope to take social work beyond the classroom and agency settings and directly to the public, because the public is the client. Catch us on air, online, and anytime.
Welcome to WCDB Albany. I'm Eric Hardiman, and I'm here with Alyssa Lotmore, and we are the Social Workers radio talk show. Welcome back, Alyssa.
Hey, Eric. And today we are going to be talking about why we love the library. I love the library. How about you?
I love the library too. I grew up with a public library. I use the library all the time. I still do. One of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why I live where I do physically is that I can walk to my library in 5 minutes. And I love being able to walk to the public library.
I was reading something the other day, and I don't know how accurate it was, but it said that if houses that are within a quarter mile of a library tend to be higher in price because they're such a valuable asset that so many people value. I don't know how accurate that stat is, but it was on a website that when I was scrolling and searching information about libraries, that fact was there. And I think I walk to my library all the time too. So I think that was something I looked at when I was looking for a house. I wanted to be near the library.
Exactly. I've used libraries my whole life, no matter, whether I've lived in cities or more suburban areas or on both coasts, everywhere. I've always used public libraries, and I think they're really important. And there's something that we often take for granted. We just assume that the libraries are there and that they function well. And, we don't always think about them just because they're part of life.
They are. And as an Albany native, I have always grown up going to the different branches of the Albany Public Library. And I would, from doing research in elementary school, book reports, to getting audiobooks for the long car rides, libraries have always been a place that was kind of my go-to spot. And as I grew older and grew up, I never outgrew the library. I still continued to go and use it as a resource. And it was just part of being in the community. And after I had my daughter, I would take her there for, story time for babies. They had like a baby bounce, and where she could go with other kids and they'd have somebody coming in, singing and reading books, even as, a 6-month-old baby. And I continued to go there. So the library is such a great resource.
It really is. And in some ways, I was thinking about it with this episode that we're going to play for our listeners in a few minutes. I was thinking, like, this is a really different topic. This is something that we don't usually talk about in social work. It's a community resource, which social workers are certainly very tuned into community resources. But, social workers aren't always directly involved in libraries. And so I think it's a really interesting sort of different way, a non-traditional way maybe to think about community development, community work, how communities connect with each other and engage people. And so I don't know, I thought it was a really fascinating conversation.
Yeah. And I love that it's changing. How you just said, like, libraries and social workers aren't really seen as connected sometimes. That's changing. And that's what's really exciting. A lot of libraries, including the Albany Public Library, and we'll talk about that in the episode, are hiring social workers and case managers because they're realizing that, libraries serve all different people from walks of life, the patrons. You never know who's going to come in the library. And libraries like Albany, they're located in various parts of the city, right along bus routes. So it's making it accessible to everybody. So individuals, when they come in, they might have issues that they need, whether it's something mental health, or unemployment or homelessness. So the libraries have seen that. And Albany Public Library has followed the lead of some other libraries in the nation of hiring a case manager and a social worker or a social worker, I should say, to address some of these issues when individuals come in. So that's exciting. Libraries and social work.
And it's one of the ways that I think the Albany Public Library system has really been a remarkable one. I mean, having lived in lots of different states and around the country and seen, as I said, and interacted with a lot of public library systems, I am just really, really deeply impressed with the Albany Public Library system and the amount of creativity and innovation and forward thinking and accessibility, quite frankly, that it offers to the Albany community. So I think it's just really, really important and valuable.
It is. And I love the Albany Public Library. I should disclose that I am involved with the library through the Friends and Foundation of the FFAP, or the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library, also known as the FFAPL. But I am involved with that just because I like to volunteer time and things that I care about. And that when I heard that they needed someone to be on the board, I volunteered to share some, to be involved. I want to know more about the libraries and how I can help. So we have today a guest who is the acting president of the FFAPL, DTrae Carter, and he's going to be talking about all of the things that the FFAPL is doing to work with and advance some of the services in the Albany Public Library.
Let's get right into the interview, Alyssa. So let's hear now from DTrae Carter, who is the interim president of the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library. And welcome back to WCDB Albany. My name is Eric Hardiman. This is The Social Workers, and I'm here with Alyssa Lotmore, my regular co-host. Welcome back, Alyssa.
Hey, Eric, we have a really great episode today because our guest is from the FFAPL, which is the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library.
Yeah, it's really exciting to have someone here from the library, from the Friends and Foundation of the Public Library in Albany. And so our guest today is DTrae Carter. We're excited, libraries are important, and we'll certainly hear a lot more about them from DTrae. But DTrae, welcome to the Social Workers live radio talk show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So can you just start off a little bit? We talk a lot about the Albany Public Library. Everyone knows, what the library is, but not many people know what the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library. So before we even get into all the details of everything that the Friends and Foundation does, let's talk a little bit about what is the FFAPL and why does it exist?
Yeah, and there's so many layers to that onion about what the Albany Public Library is, but the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library provides critical financial support to the public library in order to help them provide educational, literary, career development, all types of lifelong learning for the public and for librarians themselves. And we benefit, promote, support the facilities and provide financial assistance and assist the library board of trustees in making its programs and facilities more valuable. So, for example, we have a lot of different projects that the library themselves are not allowed to fund, so we help provide them the arm that allows them to do a lot of these extra functions like the book talks and like the bike rides through Albany. So we do a lot of things that the Albany can't provide to the public, but we are able to help them with.
Yeah, because people sometimes think, oh, I pay a library tax every year, and that doesn't cover a lot of the other programming and expenses that the library does offer.
Oh yeah. The library tax does go a long way, but that doesn't mean everything's covered. There's still a lot of maintenance to be taken care of, a lot of salaries to worry about, and none of the money through those taxes goes to waste. It all goes back into the library. When the library runs out of that funding to take care of themselves, we come in to help provide opportunities to do things that they wouldn't usually be able to take on to help their patrons and the public.
And DTrae, how long has the FFAPL been around? Has it always been part of the library system, or is it a relatively new thing?
Well, I'm learning as I've just become the acting president of the organization. But the organization's been around for quite some time. The Friends of Albany Public Library started supporting for over 70 years ago. That was more of like that was the early iteration of a support group for the library in Albany. And then in 1998, the Albany Public Library Foundation was founded to benefit the programs. But at the same time, a little further longer, you may have had a past guest of yours, Holly Mckenna. She took
Yes.
on like the big barrel of work to turn this into something that would be what it kind of looks like today.
Okay.
Holly Mckenna took it on in 2012 and re-energized the group to expand it to the foundation. In 2017, the executive director of Albany Public Library asked the Friends of Albany Public Library and the foundation to merge. So that's what we have since 2018, our organization, which is combining all of the efforts and the enthusiasm and fervor of people that want to support the library into one big group, so we can merge our own missions to help provide support for the library.
Yeah, it sounds like an important function, an important role to play for the community. So before we get even, because I'm so curious, like I've got questions about the pandemic and how that's affected the library and your organization. But before we even get into that, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and sort of how, where you grew up and how you experienced libraries when you were growing up and kind of what got you interested in this type of work.
Yeah, I could say where it started, but then there's a lot of zigzags to how we get to here. But I'll start off by saying that my love for books and literature started very early, and it was I was very inquisitive as a child. My mother would tell you. So I asked so many questions. She got frustrated, so she gave me a dictionary so I could in order to answer all the questions I had for her. So that was really my first book. And that was really what brought me into my voracious fervor in the lifelong course to learn more and be able to do and help and provide more for those around me.
Yeah.
So the knowledge is found in the libraries, and I guess I attached those two together. And I would always look forward to the trips my mom would take me to the library because I would max out the amount of books. And I'm from Utica, New York, so. We didn't have a car back then, so walking home with 20 books and with no book bag, that was a lot of dedication. But I knew that was all worth it. But I know that's where it, like the etymology of my passion for the library starts there. But being able to understand like how important libraries are within all of our communities, and having moved to Albany and seeing that we have just this robust system of basically libraries and that are accessible from each neighborhood. And that is what I really find to be the nexus of where people can learn and share and build and build themselves and build up their neighborhoods. And it's a beautiful thing to see what the library can do for everyone if we understand the resources that it can provide.
I love how you mentioned that it's in, Albany is unique because when you go out to the suburbs or different places, there's usually one library, and Albany has many branches in all the different neighborhoods that are usually accessible via a bus route, easy for kids to walk to after school. And that's one of the unique things I think about the Albany Public Library is how many branches we have that make libraries and books accessible. And it's also, and you mentioned that a little bit, how you used to go and carry all the books back home. But now libraries, in addition to books, they're way more than books now. I mean, the amount of activities and engagement. You can check out fishing poles at the library. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do now. And the FFAPL is involved with some of that programming. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how the FFAPL makes it so libraries are, more than books.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's the fishing poles. That was a really good thing to learn about that. What you can be able to take out from the library. They also offer the instruments, so you can learn your bass guitar. There's so many different things that you can take out. So to start, we realized, and I guess tying into kind of what you're saying before, Eric, about the pandemic. People were shut off from a lot of the information that was outside. So what the library does provide are hotspots. So people that don't have access to the internet and that would use the library for their primary access to the World Wide Web, but they can now take it home with them. They can use that to do the research that they need or to file just about anything for their life. That is available at the libraries, and I want to make sure that everyone understands how important it is to know what tools you have that are in your backyard and for free. Well, for the cost of a library card, of course. But and then the library having waived late fees, so that gives you more opportunity, more time to be able to immerse yourself in the thing that you want to use to help develop your skills or learn more. It's the opportunities are limitless at the library, I find.
Yeah. So Dre, I'm wondering, we'll get to the pandemic stuff too in a minute, but I'm wondering, are there some public myths and misperceptions about the library, or not the library, but about libraries in general? I mean, do you find yourself in this organization, the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library? Do you find that, the public doesn't always understand what libraries do and what's important about libraries?
Yeah, it's as simple as I'll ask you a question, Eric. When's the last time you stepped foot in the library, in your local library?
Well, mine was last week, actually. I use mine all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you go in to check out?
Well, I went to return a book that my wife had checked out, so I didn't check one out this time. But before that, I think we checked out a library pass where we went to a museum in Massachusetts and got a free pass to go to the library and not have to pay the admission fee.
Yeah. So it's if you walk into the library, just curious, what about when the last time you went? Because if you walk in, you could take a look around, and what we have special with our Albany libraries are the Pine Hills branch is we're hosting the Art at APL, so local artists can have their artwork shown to the public daily for a whole season, and that's an opportunity that a lot of people wouldn't otherwise have to be able to express themselves artistically. Like the walls are covered in your neighbor's work. There are local sections that we have of artists, and go to the archives, you can see Alice Green has a newspaper from the South End in the 70s where you can see some pictures in there that where some of the buildings haven't even changed. So like it's a lot more than just what you can take out from the library, what you bring back. It's what you can just what you can imbue yourself in with the history, so with the knowledge, with the feeling that you can also get pride from the things that you can see on the walls, or from the people that that from records that they have that are located in these places. It's
right.
It's the labyrinth of just of anything you really want to explore.
It is. And there's also so many ways that the library engages with the community. One of my favorite events that the library hosts with the FFAPL is the Bike the Branches event. And my daughter and I had done that previously. I wore my Cat in the Hat running jersey. Or not, sorry, biking jersey. So I loved that. I was trying to keep in the theme of books. But we biked to all the branches together. It was led by, I think a police officer. And we, the group of community members, biked to all the branches and then finished at the, Pine Hills branch. But it was a really good way for communities to engage, get outdoors, and see all the different libraries. But those are just some of the examples of how the library engages with the community, even outside of the library walls. And I think that's really cool. It's a really great thing to show that libraries are a community asset and resource.
And from the Washington Ave branch, we have a literary libations tour that's usually in the spring, summer. And there's a lot of different historic buildings right in the middle of Albany, right located around that branch, where you can walk around and see some of the old speakeasy spots, or where people used to shuttle different tankards that we don't know what was in it. We can't say that to this point. We don't have the proof, but you can learn a lot about that history outside the library. And because of that system of branches we have, each line to each branch has another story.
It's really great. And what are some ways that individuals can be involved with the FFAPL? I mean, I know sometimes volunteers are needed for some of the book sales. What are some ways that people, if they're interested in supporting the library or the FFAPL, that they can become more involved?
Oh yeah, and as the libraries are opening up, we would love to have people come back to join us for our book talks on Tuesdays. We have a lot of great artists from around the country that come and just read some passages from their works, and
nice.
That's a free opportunity to learn about some literature. Then you're in the fields that you're interested in. please come through for that. That we'll be starting to organize them once we have a clear schedule. But we have a lot of committees that are open on FFAPL with a lot of fun things to do. Like planning our main fundraiser event at the end of the year, the Literary Legends Gala. We have like an evening with the authors where the literary legends that we nominate. We have an opportunity for the public to just meet with them and just talk to them about their works and how much the Capital Region community means to them. We have the poetry sale coming up soon. The National Poetry Month. We're hosting a poetry sale next month. People can come to purchase books. We do have actually something great coming up for National Library Week, April 3rd through 9th. We'll be hosting a luncheon on April 5th, where we'll be remembering our previous president, Mckenna, and members and friends of the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library that died and over the last year. So you're more than welcome to join us at the kitchen table at noon on Friday for that. But more importantly, we're really looking for people that are interested in giving back to the Albany community, the Capital Region, and that have a really strong love for libraries and a lot of the opportunities that are offered through them. It's not just talking about books, it's figuring out how we can help people with the resources that are in this system. And anyway, we're looking for people that are very, very enthusiastic and interested in
So it sounds like this is, it's a way to help the library system, but it's also a way for folks to get involved and to meet each other, to build some community as well. So I would imagine there's some external benefits from that too that come.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Another thing that got me into this role is a few years ago, I was just annoyed with reading the news every day and seeing something wrong or something bad happening, and rather than read the problem, I wanted to see how I can help fix the problem. And a lot of that was being able to just locate an organization that was deeply entrenched within our community and that directly helps people every day. And FFAPL is a great example of that.
It is. And one of the things that I also love about our library, we are a social work show and it is social work month, though it's even more appropriate to talk about this, is that the libraries across the country, but the Albany Public Library is a part of this, are offering services. They're hiring social workers or case managers to actually be in the library. I mean, how cool is that? Librarians with social workers, because the patrons of the library, they come from all different walks of life. And the library has shifted to address the growing needs of the patrons who are dealing with complex life issues, from unemployment to homelessness to mental health. And I really love how the library is stepping up, especially during this pandemic. And I have a quote, and Dre, if you want to talk a little bit about the support for the library, but even from back in 2018, the former APL executive director, Scott Bonzik, said that, there are so many more people out there now who are experiencing a lack of food, struggling to apply for benefits, and suffering from the stress and mental health problems. Our goal is to find organizations that tackle these issues and directly link them to people, link them for assistance. And he was talking about how the APL created a community and services support specialist as the way to help people, especially during the pandemic, get back on their feet, get connected with resources. So that's even another thing that the libraries are doing, is helping to connect patrons with services that they may need.
Yeah, and I know how resourceful these social workers are, and I really look up to you for the amount you accomplish with oftentimes is with little resources to work with, and keeping the library in your back pocket is just another great tool to use. That's always available, of course, so long as the branch is open. But say that you need some space to meet, say that you need to do some research, say that you have a family that has clients, or a family that has young children that are in reading developing age, you can guide them to our Growing a Reader program, hosted at Washington Branch, for children and parents to help guide them in methods to teach their children how to read. That's something supported through FFAPL. So I think It's a social worker and Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library. They make great bedfellows. What a great partnership to have, to be able to have these resources at your helm in order to help people that need the most.
So, I mentioned the pandemic, and I think you've been talking about some of those things that the public library has started to do in Albany in the past 2 years. But I guess I'm curious, since you've been involved, what's changed, and what have the last 2 years been like for the public library system?
Yeah, so this isn't just everything's changed for everyone, and I just want to be clear about that. But realizing that everyone needs more resources at home too. And that said, so one of the things we addressed over the past year during the pandemic, we implemented a Wi-Fi system at each. So FFAPL funded a program in which each library branch is a Wi-Fi hub, so you can have Wi-Fi access if you're located around each branch throughout the city of Albany. We're looking to expand that, and hopefully we'll have some more information on that soon. But being able to allow these people that need internet to access unemployment forms, which was a huge issue during the pandemic, or for health insurance forms, being able to have access to that. We realized where these libraries are, there are people that don't have the means to be able to afford that, afford the internet. So we were proactive, and we were able to help them be able to have that access. I thought that was very important and a very, very major project for us to engage in.
Well, the library it's a community resource. And I think during the pandemic, when it was closed, I think it showed how much libraries are a resource to community when some of those services were paused and people didn't have the library to go to and things were more remote. It showed some of how valuable the library is. And I think the library has stepped up to do things like the Wi-Fi, or, having hotspots. And doing things to say, hey, even if we were closed for a time, there are still ways we can help and be of service to individuals. And I think they did a great job at that. So yay.
So if you just tuned in, we've been talking with DTrae Carter, who's the interim president of the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library. DTrae, I'm really curious, since we've been talking about the last 2 years and sort of all the ways that the Albany Public Library has been stepping up in the community. I'm going to ask you to read the future a little bit, and I know that's a difficult request, but what do you see next for the library system? What are some of the things coming in the next couple of years, and where would you like to see it go?
Yeah, no, so well, personally, I realized that there is quite a disparity of with diversity throughout the librarian system. I believe the librarians are 80% non people of color. So I would love to see a place where the libraries are more diverse. They have a lot more people from their areas that, from the local communities that they're in, work there. So I would love to see FFAPL get into more funding to bring more people that are interested in advancing their careers in library systems. I would love to be able for us to help version that for them, or create paths for them to do so, to be able to make more diversity throughout that industry, because knowledge is for everyone. It shouldn't just look the same. It should look like all of us.
Right.
And isn't there a partner or a scholarship or a fellowship with SUNY that they do to try to increase diversity in the libraries? I'm not really sure I know all the details.
Yes. And that was actually just announced recently. It's a TUI fellowship provided with partnership through the University of Albany. We were recently nominated 2 people to advance their careers and their learning in the library field. And that's an annual award we present every year. But I would love to see us expand upon that.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So DTrae, how can individuals find out more information about the FFAPL? Is there a website or resources, or are you at certain events? How can people get more information?
As things start opening up, we'd love to be more into more out into the public, to greet you, to let you know all of the opportunities, resources, and services that we have. But you can find a lot of our information at ffapl.org. But you can see us next. well, we're working through our library annual appeal, which ends on April 6th, but we'll be at the kitchen table on April 5th for our luncheon to celebrate Holly Mckenna and to remember some friends, remember friends in the past that we've lost over the pandemic.
Yes. And I want to just clarify before, but you said remember Holly. And I was like, wait, no, before.
Oh,
To celebrate Holly. Holly
Yes,
is still
celebrate
here.
Holly.
Celebrate Holly
Very
and
much.
remember those who we have lost. So I just wanted to clarify that because I meant to interrupt you before, but yes, Holly is still here and we are going to be celebrating her time and service at the FFAPL and remembering those who are no longer there.
Please keep it secret and don't tell her I said that.
Dre, this has been a really great conversation. I know I've learned a lot about FFAPL, and sometimes organizations like that are kind of behind the scenes heroes. I mean, they keep library systems alive and do this important work, but aren't always visible in the public eye. And it sounds like FFAPL is doing a lot in that area, that they're actually out in the community and in getting people involved and bringing people together, all in the service of, improving the quality of life for the community. Yeah,
and I can't stress enough that libraries are the most important resource that'll navigate us through the digital divide. Exactly to what you're saying, that it will bring us all together. It will bring us all together.
It's really great. Thank you. And I just want to say also, I love my library. I'm involved with the Albany Public Library and the FFAPL, and my daughter I've utilized the library so much growing up as a kid, but then even with my daughter, the programs that you offer, from the story times that the library have to the craft programs, to the cooking classes for kids, to everything that you have. There's so many ways where kids can connect, and adults. I mean, even have an adult book clubs and a adult sewing and knitting kind of activities. So it's just a great way for people.
And there's a Dungeons and Dragons club too. So if you're into that stuff, make sure you should pop in.
But that's what it is. There's so much to offer. There's so many types of programs. I attended a one via Zoom the other day. It was about how we can increase do storytellings. We had a local individual come on who that was his job, and he did a whole 6-part series on how we can become better storytellers if we're writing or if we're creating movies. And it was a really wonderful program, and it was all for free. So that's the one thing I love about when I take my daughter to the library. She's like, I'm like, everything's free. Go check out what you want. We don't have to look at prices for things. And it's a great resource.
So we've been talking again with DTrae Carter from the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library. DTrae, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything we missed, anything we didn't ask about that you'd like to share with our listening audience about the library? I know, just make sure you come to our website, check us out on the social medias as well. And as things open up, if things start opening up, we'll be doing more outreach. So look for our logo and we'll try to let you know all the ways you can get involved.
Yes, and it's ffapl.org. And you can also find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I believe it's at FF of APL. Is that correct, Dre?
FF of APL.
Yes. So you can find them on social media. Great organization to probably, follow and see what they're up to. So Dre, thanks for being our guest, and thank you also for all of the hard work and dedication that you've shown to the Albany community. I think it's really valuable and really important. And I think your vision of the library as the centerpiece of the community, the connector of the community is a really important vision. So thank you for that. I look forward to coming back and giving you some updates on how far we've gone. Great. You're always welcome back. So Alyssa, do you want to tell listeners how to check into our archives here? You can always find our old episodes at the Social Workers Radio Talk Show.simplecast.fm. That's a really, really long thing, but just follow us on social media at Social Workers FM. We have a very active Twitter page, so you can always click on the link to our website from there. So give us a follow, and hear all our past shows. I always remind folks that if you use a search engine, which most of us do, you can type in Social Workers Radio and you'll find us and find lots of resources related to our show. So
Thanks for listening to WCDB Albany and the social workers. We'll see you next time.